Hello, my name is Daniel Yuck. Thank you for joining me today. I am a little bit under the weather, so I apologize in advance for the sluggish tone here. But in this video, I wanted to talk about how to go about shading with a round shader, and I wanted to point out some key fundamentals. So by the end of this video, you can click away with knowledge that you could immediately apply on your end to begin improving. Should you have any questions, drop a comment below. If you find this video useful, consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing, as I would greatly appreciate your support. It's important to understand the aspect of a round shader. So you can see off to the left we have a 3 round liner, and then off to the right we have a round shader. The main difference is that the round shader has needle pins that are grouped further apart from one another, which makes a more bolder print of a needle. So the final needle on every single size of a round shader versus the corresponding round liner is always going to be more bolder, because once again, round shader, the pins are further spaced apart. So what that means is I have to adjust my technique. For this demonstration, I'm going to be using this Rain 9 round shader. You can see, for example, the line work that was done here, I believe was done with a 14 round shader. I'm using this Rain 9 round shader to go ahead and apply the shading to this panther tattoo right here. And the same rule of thumb is going to apply to, let's say, for example, 3 round liners. I personally like to shade with a 3 round liner. So the technique is pretty much the same, but what changes is the design, direction, shading, the way that it looks when I'm done. So you can see that the idea is I'm starting with the darkest area that I want to be the most saturated, and then I'm using whip-like motions to create a gradient from point A to B. What this means is the A point is typically going to be the darkest point. In between is where the gradient transition is going to happen, and the B point is typically going to be the ending of the shade or fade, which is going to be the lightest. So just to confirm, A is the darkest point, my B point is the whip out, typically leading up to the lightest point with a gradient in between A to B. The idea is to use the very tips of the needles that I showed you a moment ago in the earlier section of this video, and I'm going to use them to essentially layer up each one of these whip motions. So I'm not applying any sort of pressure. I'm focused more on aligning my hand speed to my voltage, as you can see, and I'm literally grazing layers of shades into the skin as opposed to lining. Hard lining is like where we just simply deposit the ink into the skin straight away. This, you can see that I'm going over this layer after layer after layer to reach the level of saturation and gradient that I am looking for. I am using opposing directions, which means I'll go ahead and shade in one direction and then cross hatch in another to smooth things out as well, which you will see more of here in this video. This is a great example. So you can see I'm kind of shading like the jaw cheek area of this panther. I'm starting by establishing the boundary in which I'm not going to go past. I'm focused on my negative space, but you can see that this first layer is basically the first lightest layer that allows me to see where I'm going to be placing the pigment down. So therefore my A point, this is actually a little bit of cross hatching, but this is going to be my A point right here. You can see that I'm whipping from, still establishing the boundary with the very edge of the round shader needle. You can see that each layer isn't getting dark or saturated quickly. I'm able to gradually build up to the tones and gradients and transitions that I want by simply working off the very tip of the needle using brush-like motions. And that's very important to kind of iterate and really exhaust here in this video. You're going to see that I'm using just the very edge of the round shader needles. I am not relying on force. I am relying on controlling my hand speed and aligning it to my voltage. Needle depth really isn't something that I factor when I am just literally grazing the skin. These natural brush-like motions do become more natural the more that we do this. When I first started, one of the key factors that I considered was needle depth, and that was on the opposite side of the spectrum, especially when it comes to shading with a round shader. Instead of focusing on any sort of like pressuristic points, what you're going to want to focus on is, once again, your voltage, match it to your hand speed. What that means is to make sure that your hand isn't moving faster than what your needle is depositing down. Other than that, you're going to want to go ahead and just practice these sort of brush-like motions, and then you're going to gradually see and you're going to learn as well how much pressure you actually are going to need to apply very specific points that you need to accomplish. Now, a very important resource is I do go over all of this in depth, and I show you illustrations and visuals to help you maintain that information in my book called the Fundamental Tattoo Handbook, which is available on Amazon.com right now. So if you head on over to Amazon.com, type in Daniel Yuck or the Fundamental Tattoo Handbook, you will see that workbook pop right on up, which goes in full depth about the needle depth, hand speed to voltage, the inner workings of machines, how needles work, dealing with difficult clients, sterilization, and so much more. Once again, that book is available on Amazon.com amongst an assortment of others that I created. Head on over to Amazon.com, type in Daniel Yuck, and you will see the books pop right on up. Right here is a good example, though, you can see of each stroke and how important it is to maintain consistency in terms of spacing in between each line for a smooth, consistent read. When I say line, I am talking about each stroke that I am making. You're gonna see a series of dots that essentially kind of looks like a little line, but it's not a line. It's just a simple stroke motion that created the trail of where I just deposited the ink. You can see right here, I am literally just brushing the boundary of where I want the darkest point to be. So I'm building up the saturation right here because I need the darkest point to be out here in this area, and I need it to fade and transition gradually going towards the inner area, towards the mouth. Does that make sense? So you can see these stroke motions, they are leaving back little line trails, and that is what you want to make sure you're focused on too. So not only do you want to make sure you're aligning your hand speed to your voltage, you're going to want to make sure that you're also paying attention to the spacing in which you are applying each and every single stroke, because that is also going to contribute to the smoothness, the overall I guess readability of the shading that you are applying. You have to do it consistently. Each and every stroke has to be intentful. You can see these strokes are neighboring one another well, and the dots are evenly spaced. This is going to apply to any part of the design. The only thing that changes is basically the motion that we are whipping in and the location. So you can see I'm doing under the eye right here on this panther, and I'm building gradients from under the eye on out to a lighter point. You can see that I'm able to accomplish this, and this is only the first layer. I'm going to do this until I've reached the, I guess, overall imagery that I envision in my head or that I'm referencing, either or, as long as we have a, I guess, constant, like an area or a direction that we're working towards for practical reasoning. You can see that this is going to apply, once again, this is going to be a middle part right here, and each individual stroke, like so. Let me break this down. I'm using a 9-round shader right here, and what's happening is I'm keeping an eye on each spacing. So I have a line going right here. I'm sorry, I have a stroke going right here, and then each stroke that I make after this has to take up its own 9-round shader worth of space. So if I'm overlapping, like let's say if I do a stroke motion and then I move over just a little bit, and then the new stroke motion intertwines with the last one, this is how I'm going to yield inconsistencies, and that's exactly what we want to stay away from. By far, one of the most important variables to consider when it comes to shading with a round shader, extending to pretty much any needle that we will be shading with, is the brush-like motions. We have to remember, finding your A and B point is probably ideal, and then from there you have an idea of where you're going to need to shade. Even if there isn't any definitive starting and ending points, sometimes we would need to shade in between large areas which really don't have a solid saturated A point and a lighter B point. We have to use pendulum motions to have a light A point, a middle darker area, and then a light B point, if that makes sense. You'll hear me talk about this in the Fundamental Tattoo Handbook. Understanding the gear that we are using and being able to anticipate the results is probably of the utmost importance. That's not something that we're going to pick up on or be able to kind of just look at and then do it for ourselves. I'm sure observing is going to help to a certain point. However, since every artist has a different technique, a different flow, a different hand, a different style, there is going to have to be some sort of accommodations and adjustments made per artist. So what that means is take what you feel would work for you in this video, take what you like, leave what you don't. However, the rule of thumb that I am using here, I also want to reiterate rather, is that this is going to apply to pretty much any needle that I would ever use. Any needle I would ever use, all I'm going to do is just adjust and accommodate to the size of the needle that I'm using for the application and results I am trying to accomplish. The goal is to get comfortable with the gear that you are using, so much so that you are able to anticipate the results that you are going to get with any of the gear that you choose to use. Whether you're using a coil, pin style tattoo machine, whether you're shading with a round liner, round shader, or whatever you choose, the idea is to be meticulous with why you're choosing the gear you're choosing and know why you're using the gear that you were using. This instance, I am discussing round shaders, which is pretty universal and can apply to round mags, and round liners. However, showing you close-ups and explaining real time, I do feel like really hits home to get these points across in which I am trying to deliver here in this video. Once again, I do go over these points in depth in the Fundamental Tattoo Handbook, which is now available on Amazon.com. The main takeaway is to remember, when it comes to shading, once again, it doesn't matter what needle we are shading with, it really is about learning the brush-like motions so that way we are able to layer up to the gradients that we want and everything in between. If we are going into shading with a heavy hand, then we're going to be in a world of hurt and a world of heartache, because shading requires layers. We cannot get to a gradient with one pass. I mean, sure, you can after maybe some time of practicing. However, from my experience, what I typically see is artists layer up to their final gradients as opposed to hitting it in one shot. The same rule of thumb applies to any needle that I'm using. For example, this is a 3-round liner, and I'm literally approaching it the exact same way that I shared with you throughout this video, accomplishing the same results. You can see in the nose area versus the area with the round shader, it all complements each other well. I was able to get clean, smooth transitions and gradients using a round shader and a round liner, very close to what I envisioned in my head, and I feel like that's what it's really about. If we're able to bridge the gaps and accomplish close to what we had upstairs, then that's probably ideal. That's like optimal in my opinion. Either way, I'm happy with these results, and that is how I go about using a round shader to apply shading to a tattoo. If you have any questions, drop a comment below. If you found this video helpful, consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel, as I will be bringing more videos like this. I'll be bringing plugin development videos and music videos as well. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.